Pranam, I am Jeet Shah, Managing Partner of VCS. We are a boutique management consulting firm based in Mumbai. We help SMEs and FMBs to achieve its full potential. We believe that being trusted is a bigger compliment than being loved. In this video, I will be discussing about the decision-making process. What I am presenting here is what I am able to recollect from a lecture of a BHU professor that I had watched on Doordarshan about more than 16-17 years back. Till the time I recollect, the process is presented from Shadashastra. However, I am not able to remember the exact chapter number of the Shastra. So let's begin the decision making process, or what we call in Hindi, Nirnay Lene Ki Prakriya. The Shastra says that we can decide to do what we like. That is what we are passionate about. मतलब कि हमें वो करना चाहिए जो हमें अच्छा लगता है. The second option that the Shastra lists down is that we should do what is good for us. Now, when we say we should do what we like, in Hindi we mean वो करो जो आपकी रुचि है, मतलब कि रुचिकर काम करना चाहिए. But when we say that we should do what is good for us, it means that वो काम करो जो आपके हित में है, मतलब जो आपका जहाँ पे आपका हित समाया हुआ है, और या हित का काम करो. One of the striking features of our Shastras is that they do not push you to accept anything with force. They reason out the things and then they leave it upon your judgment to decide upon what you want to do. So the Shastra says that let's find out who motivates our ruchi. It says that it's our man that tells us what we like and what we don't like. So what we do with our man is known as manmani in Hindi. And what it tells us के हमारे हित में क्या है is our buddhi or the intellect. It means intellect tells us what is good for us, and what we do with our buddhi is known as buddhimani. Now, the Shastra stops over here. I hope and believe that you will use your judgment to choose the right path for taking decisions. Normally, I don't seek any support from any other person or books, as I fully believe that the wisdom of our Shastras is perfect. One of the things that is very big reason about my such belief is that these Shastras are not having any copyright mark. Hence, they had no commercial intent which makes them more pious. Also, they don't force upon anything. In fact, their authors are so humble and modest that in case of contradictions, they put up a phrase known as Satya Kevali Gamya. That means this is what I have understood, but then the last truth is known to the enlightened one only. But as said by General Maxwell Truman, the most important lesson learned is an old truth ratified. I tried to find out the contemporary opinions of the current authors, researchers, and other intellectuals, and found that they too believe in the same thing as our Shastras believe. The best examples for this that I have to quote is the books known as So Good They Can't Ignore You by Carl Newport and Peak by Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole. I would highly recommend all the viewers to read these books. They are fantastic books. Let's ponder on some insights that I have got from the book So Good That They Can't Ignore You by Carl Newport. In 2010, Carl Newport received a PhD in computer science from MIT. Before starting his career, he became obsessed with the question that is put up over here: why do some people end upon loving what they do, definitely for the living, while so many others fail at this goal? Hence, he interviewed many people who loved their work to find out how they get there. He concluded that the people who have a specific mindset, which he calls the craftsman mindset, love their work more than those who he calls have a passionate mindset. He says that the passionate mindset thinks, what can the world offer me? A passionate mindset thinks, what job can sustain my pre-existing passion? I would like to quote the author over here. He writes like this. He says, first, when you focus only on what your work offers you, it makes you hyper aware of what you don't like about it, leading to chronic unhappiness. This is especially true for entry level positions, which by definition are not going to be filled with challenging projects and autonomy. They come later. When you enter the working world with a passion mindset, the annoying tasks are assigned or frustration of corporate bureaucracy can become too much to handle. The author says, second and the more serious, the deep question driving the passionate mindset is who am I and what do I truly love are essentially impossible to confirm. Is this who I really am and do I love this? Rarely reduced to clear yes or no responses. In other words, the passion mindset is almost a guaranteed to keep you perpetually unhappy and confused. Let us know what he means by the craftsman mindset. The craftsman mindset thinks, how can I improve and have something uniquely valuable to offer to the world? Am I willing to stick with this despite how boring and tedious the process may be? It, that is the craftsman mindset, asks you to leave behind self centered concerns about whether your job is just right and instead put your head down and plug away at getting really damn good on. No one owes you a great career, it argues. You need to earn it and process won't be easy. Regardless of how you feel about your job right now, adopting the craftsman's mindset will be foundation on which you will build your compelling career. This is why I reject the argument from existing passion because it gets things backward. In reality, as I'll demonstrate, you adopt craftsman's mindset first and then passion follows. Now over here, you can see that he has made a clear distinction between two mindsets, passionate mindset and the craftsman mindset. And right now we all are aware that whenever you see any YouTube video or a motivational guru or anybody, a celebrity, he'll tell you to just follow your passion. Over here, the researcher is telling something a bit different. He says that people who love what they do for a living consistently experience the following three traits. The traits are: first is impact. Now, what he means by impact is the quality of your work that has a noticeable and positive impact on people you care about. That is your teammate, your customers, your family, etc. The second trait that he points out is creativity. He says you have an opportunity to improvise your work and implement your ideas. And the third, he says that your work should have control. That means you have some say over how, when, and where will you work. The author writes the things that make great work great are rare and valuable. If you want them in your career, you need rare and valuable skills to offer in return. The process of developing rare and valuable skills is hard, and this is why having a craftsman's mindset is so critical. Unless you find a way to stick to the process of improvement, despite how much your passion dips, you will fail to develop skills that are rare and valuable, and you won't have enough leverage to demand these rare and valuable work traits. The current generation wants that the job they do should be exciting, challenging, and so on. As I said, by definition, the entry level jobs don't have any of these things, even for the super duper MBAs. We have to ask them, they will always say, we do the monotonous things, we do the same thing over and again. There is no challenge in my work, it is mundane. Yes, your work might be mundane, but that's how it is. Now, the question is how to become rare and valuable. This I will be discussing in some other video. However, just to quote Carl Newport, he says that if you are not putting in efforts to become, as Steve Martin puts it, so good that they can't ignore you, you are not likely to end up loving your work, regardless of whether or not you believe it's your true calling. Now, this relates too much to my experience as a martial artist. I had practiced martial arts for quite a long time. Over there, my master, from day one till my black belt was over, he was pushing me to do the same steps over and over again, whether I liked it or I didn't like it. But then those steps that I did it were really helpful in my sparring in my kata, and hence I started to like karate more and more and more. So you might have seen this thing in so many martial art movies that the student doesn't like the same thing over and over again. However, the master pushes him to do the same thing over and over again, and after some point of time, when he develops that competency, he starts liking what he's doing, and that's when you start getting the job satisfaction, all these things. So this was my take, or what I've understood by two things. That is one, what our shastras have said, and I had tried to relate this with the contemporary things. I have mentioned over here a book known as Peak. Now Peak is a book that will help us to understand how can we gain these skills which are known as the scare skills that will help us, that will make us stand out of the crowd. So probably in the next video we'll try to understand how can we develop the skills due to which we'll start liking our work. Till that time, dhanyavad, thank you so much for listening to my video.